everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Court Press. I'm your host, Courtney Mims, and we have had some awesome guests on this year, but I might be most excited for this guest because this is a bucket list item for me to have this guy on the show. He doesn't need any introduction. Pat Bradley, the one, the only, the shooter. Oh man, I'm so excited you wanted to come on the show, and he is a busy guy, so thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Courtney, thank you so much for reaching out. I hope the hotel room decor is up to speed. I don't want to bring down the Pig Trail Nation. You guys are known for your your great fashion. So I don't want to.
No.
I didn't paint that. I don't even know what it is.
Oh, you
A
didn't?
butterfly.
I thought you did. I was going to ask, is that a Pat Bradley original there? You know,
I'm trying. As you can see, I'm a Hilton Honors Diamond member, so they give me the nice, clean room.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Hotel life. I love it. I don't have to clean up after myself.
I love
it. It's beautiful.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And of course, I wish we had a little bit better circumstances to, talk under, because I was like, okay, maybe I can have Pat on and the Hogs will have won 2 games. And we have nothing bad to talk about because we're talking about 2 wins. They had 1 win against Georgia this past Wednesday, and everyone went, yes, this is what we needed to see. This is the team that we knew they could be, right? And then they go and lose to Oklahoma this past Saturday in Bud Walton Arena. A great crowd, by the way, for that matchup. I know the crowd has been in question this entire season, but the Hog fans showed up and showed out for a team that has been struggling in SEC play, but a really tough loss to an Oklahoma team that also has been struggling in conference play. So just really quickly, Pat, before we get into the nitty-gritty of that matchup, just what were your overall takeaways from that loss to the Sooners?
Well, you had 2 1-5 teams, 2 desperate teams, and who probably feel like they should have been better going into the game than 1-5, but it does give you an idea. Both these teams are in the top 25, Oklahoma more recently. But that game in particular, I talk to a lot of coaches, and they go, man, we're struggling with this. We're struggling shooting. We're struggling rebounding. We're struggling this. And I go, you should hear what the other coach is saying, what they're struggling with. Like, everybody's going through this. Everybody, okay? The physicality. So Oklahoma is a team with a freshman point guard, a couple of transfers, who had to get better. So they kind of got knocked around a little bit. And I think in the particular game against the Hogs, they're a physical team. So the Hogs struggled. What I see is a lot of attention to detail. And whether it's defensively, rotations are off. Transition defense, I couldn't believe there were times where Trevin Brazil or Z is guarding the guy bringing the ball up on fast break, and he gets caught on him on the perimeter, breaks him down, gets to the paint, 2 feet in the paint, turn, burn for a 3. Or you had like DJ Wagner caught on a big man one time so it's like just different little things like that. If you can clean that stuff up. And, then the other thing is you look at, on the offensive end, I felt like in the first half, they're moving slow. Like, there were certain times, I had to go back and watch it on replay because I was working that day. But just a simple thing of setting up a screen, setting the screen up so that the big guy can come and set the screen at the correct angle, because Oklahoma was killing us. They screen like the kid Sam Godwin, the big, he looks like a lumberjack kind of guy. He screens 5 times at least on every play. He just runs around hitting people. And what happens is, okay, now they turn the corner. Now they're playing 2-on-1 with our big guy. They throw a couple oops. So I'd like to see us in the second half. It was a little bit better with hard screens, hard cuts. But it's little things like that determine whether you get open for a shot or you don't. I liked in the second half, Coach Cal went to Big Z, Ivasic, my man. It was like, because he's right now, without Boogie Flan, Ivasic is the most dynamic offensive player. Because, statistically, I think he's our best statistically 3-point shooter. and he's 7'2". And so you got to respect that if you're the defense. And we saw multiple times where it was pick and roll or it was just a regular, simple two-man game with Big Z. And a couple of times he can put you on his hip. You know, he's not a traditional post-up guy but he gets you 5 feet, nice little baby hook. So second half, they really worked him in a lot of two-man game, which worked, which leads me to this is a game of decision-making. Possessions, it's a very slim margin. You look at the Hogs in the second half, right? Oklahoma, they make, I think, 7 threes in the first half, 0 in the second half. But what happened? They would go to the free throw line 12 times because we fouled them twice on a three-point play.
Crazy.
So then you say, okay, that's a mistake. Then you look at the last 2 offensive possessions. The dang shot clock nearly goes off, and I think it was Davis has to heave, a 30-footer. And then Cal calls that timeout. Gets it to Big Z, 2-man game with John L. Davis. Backdoor cut. John L. Davis is off balance. There's about 4 Oklahoma guys right there just ready to just snatch him right out of the air. Instead of pitching it to DJ Wagner in the corner, reading the play, decision-making, he, falls down into the second row. But here's the thing. So you say to yourself, okay, you can drop a play, but it's about decision-making. So let's just say, so Cal went to the DJ Wagner, Big Z, Thero, and Carter Knox, right?
Right.
Because Thero and Carter Knox, they were fantastic against Georgia. They were the most physical guys. They made a difference. So you see, most likely, end of the game situation, it's not going to be one guy takes a shot, buzzer beater wins it. It's always the second shot, offensive glass, stick back, those types of things. So, that's what you have. I mean, you throw it to D, and this is all whatever, but I just kind of see, throw it to DJ, he takes the 3. Even if he misses, you've got Thero, Knox, and Z attacking the glass. And so it's about making the right plays and giving yourself a chance. But you don't get a shot. You don't even get a shot. You don't get the last 2 plays.
Right. And I was kind of going to go into that last play with you because that's kind of like, I tweeted out and I kind of, maybe I was a little harsh on it, but I kind of tweeted out and I said, that's how it ends. That's how it ended. That's what they went with. And I know people have criticized that and said, look, I don't think the ball should have been in Nelly Davis's hands, but it's even like you said, the decision making there. It's seeing the floor well. And that's something that you did incredibly well when you played here, but seeing the floor because you have a DJ Wagner that's going, who's open in the corner going, get me the ball. And like you said, even if you miss, okay, react to that. Who do you have under the basket to possibly get it back in and have a chance to win this ball game? And so I think for Hog fans, I mean, honestly, you can kind of describe the season like that. Poor shooting, bad decision making. It's just been things that just, okay, you can clean up these little things here or there, but they haven't been. So for you, Pat, just being a former player and having the basketball knowledge you have, what needs to happen with this team? Because you look and you say, okay, mental mistakes, these things, bad shooting. How do you fix it and go forward? Because now you look at the ESPN analytics, right? And you look at those and you see, okay, going into the Oklahoma game, 30% chance of making the NCAA tournament. That's not great, but that's still doable. It's still okay. You have a chance. You got a chance. But now you have, I think it's 16%, I think is what it is. And so now you're going, gosh, there maybe is a path, but not really. I mean, 16%, that's not great odds. So what do you do with this team, Pat? What do you say? You put on that hat, you put on that coaching hat. What do you do moving forward?
Well, you take each game and, they're learning things in practice, but you take each game. So, after the Georgia game, you say to yourself, okay, this is the team we have to be, that hard hat team, like Thero, Carter Knox, you guys have to be the most physical guys for us. You can get a second chance opportunities. You can get the free throw line. Carter Knox got to the free throw line 13 times. Between him and Thero, They went to the free throw line 22 times. They were 14 to 22. No, was it 14? My math is off. 18 to 22.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Like, so if you can say, okay, now we can start working because we know the identity of what these guys are. Big Z. Okay, now we can start working on the half court with Z, with the two-man game, with Wagner. I mean, with multiple guys, because Big Z could get in the post. Wagner attacked it one time. You needed help. Big Z slipped out to the. So I think each game you start to add a little bit more. And in the second half, Oklahoma scores 35 in the first half, right? 7 threes. Oklahoma, 0 threes in the second half. You could see there was a little bit more intensity. They pressed a little bit too, which that worked against Georgia. So they may, the one thing that concerns me about the press, Trevor Brazil is up front, is the top of the press, which, he's really long and lanky, but that's only good if in the first pass you're just attacking and just ripping and pressing their face off. And then you use that as a big, but a lot of times I saw he got caught on the guard. Like Oklahoma had their guard. I think it might have been Duke Miles or one of those guys actually bring it out of bounds. So he'd throw it in, get it back. And there's Trevin and he struggled to guard the perimeter anyway. I don't think go guard a guy 24 feet. So I think you just build on each of the positives and you look at the film and you say, set up your screen a little bit better. You say, okay, how are we going to defend this? Like Oklahoma on that ball screen, they just basically the big guy wouldn't allow the guard to turn the corner, wouldn't allow the guard to come back this way. So, do you maybe jump the screen a couple of times? Do you, so there's different ways that things you can learn from each game, and, it's unfortunate you lost a guy that the ball would have been in his hands to win the game, Boogie Fland against against Oklahoma. So that's really, Coach Cal. No, Coach Cal's been there. He's been where he's at right now. He's had to figure it out. He's not going to crack, and I think we don't want him to. I still see guys on the bench that are wanting to win, and sometimes when you talk about decision making, you got to show them. Say, this is what you did. This is what we told you to do. This is what you did. Either you can't do it or you won't do it. Either way, we have a problem. So you tell me, are you going to do it or you just can't? And that's why, Jonas Adu plays 8 minutes. 8 minutes, dude, 6'10", 6'11". He had no points.
Nope. Yeah, nothing.
I don't know how many rebounds. One rebound. So when Cal talks about he's playing 8 guys, he's really only playing. There's really only 6 guys showing up, maybe 7.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you kind of shake his head a little bit, and say, hey, come on, shake your brain a little bit. What you got in there, bud? Let's go.
I love that. And that's something that Jimmy Witt, I had him on the show last week, and he kind of said that. He kind of goes, look, because I talked to him about leadership on this team and grit, and and he kind of goes, look, these are grown men. You shouldn't have to be telling, they should want to do this. They should want to go out there and do these things because they're grown men. Don't be telling them, we're leaders, we're grown men. And I love that because it's kind of that same mentality that you have right there. And it's kind of the mentality, because I want to ask you about a comment you made. I was watching
I think DJ Wagner, he's one of the guys that when you watch him, he understands how to come off a screen. He understands, he's the one pointing, like, get help over here, help over here. So I think DJ can step up and be, not get in someone's face and cuss them out, but that leader where people say, okay, DJ, how do I need to do this? And I think DJ Wagner could be because he's the the floor general, if you will. Multiple times he's having to tell people where to go and what to do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully they'll pick up on that.
And this is a position that he has played before. I mean, he did play the point
Correct.
at Kentucky. What
Played it
he
really well too as a
Yeah,
freshman.
yeah, and
Really well.
he got a couple of SEC Freshman of the Week awards, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he played it really well, and so that is what you would expect of your floor general, right? To be vocal and be a vocal leader for this team. But I'll even add in there, when Coach Cal called that timeout before that last play, they were in the huddle, and Big Z looked like he couldn't hear, and he was trying to get the play, and Adu Thero got to him and was like, "Look, this is what we're doing. This is and I think that was a little bit like, okay, there are people trying to step up and take those leadership roles, but I just love what Jimmy Witt said about, like, these are grown men. Come on, we don't need to be.
Well, you got to pay attention. I
Yeah.
saw one time where they came out as Cal has just diagrammed the play. They come out. Trevor Brazil goes to take the ball out of bounds, and Carter Knox, I think it was like, "What are you doing? Go.
What?
You
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to be over there." It's like, are you listening in the timeout? But you try to keep getting their attention. You try to keep grinding on them and find out. Listen, if you only got 6 that you can trust. If you only got 5 you can trust, that's the way you got to roll.
It is the way you got to roll. And you made a really good point on SEC Now after that win over Georgia. When Coach Cal said in the post game, he made a mention about, we might have to just grit it out. We might have to just grind out wins. And you made a point. You said, we might have to grind out wins. No, you're gonna have to grind out wins with this team.
Right.
I like what you said there, because that really is true with what they've got. I mean, genuinely, you take out Boogie Fland, and now you're in a situation that, again, they didn't want to be in this situation. They are in this situation, and you've got guys that have to kind of really just take over, be physical, be aggressive, get to the free throw line. It worked against Georgia. You've got to do it against other SEC teams. I know that's a hard task, easier said than done, but I like, kind of explain where you were coming from there on SEC Now, and you were like, they are gonna have to do this. They are gonna have to grind out these wins.
There's no mites. I had a great Coach Nolan Richardson told me one time. He said, "I'd much rather have a raggedy ride than a smooth walk." All right, all these guys want to win. They don't care if they want to be pretty. If they lose, you know what I mean. They want to have a jump shot. You know what I mean. And it's much better to win ugly, grind it out, get on the floor, offensive rebound, stick back, than lose pretty. And it's not anything new, right? There's always been guys who really didn't play with a purpose, didn't understand how to make winning plays, and just played to play. They came off a screen. I'm open, I'm going to shoot it. And there's always been guys who grind it out, the hard hat guys, however you want to call it. So, this Razorback team is sort of having to figure out, truly who they are. They're not the most talented guys. As a matter of fact, there's 2 guys who are projected, Boogie Fland, Adu Thero. You can see his name on some of the draft boards. Depending on how Big Z was on a couple of them.
Yeah.
But, you're not talking about first rounders. You're talking about guys that could work their way potentially into it. So, but like if it's me, and I saw a lot of great energy from Billy Richmond, Carter Knox, right? They come in, they give you great energy. But they're still freshmen. Everything they're going through, they've never been through, right? So they're going to look at times like, they're just spinning around. But they do have to, oh
no.
I'm back.
You're back. You're here.
Again, I'm rolling. I'm like pounding on the table. My phone fell.
No.
See what I'm talking about? You gotta get into it. But you look at against Georgia, it was Thero, it was Knox getting to the free throw line, it was diving on the floor. There was a one play in that game. I wish I wrote it down. It might have been 4 minutes or 3 minutes. I can go back and look at it.
Yeah.
It's not on the stat sheet. There was a shot went up, scramble for the ball. Adu Thero basically just dives, kicks it out. We get an extra possession. Somebody gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, makes the 2 shots. It's plays like that where you don't have to, have a offensive rebound, stick back dunk, or those types of fun, exciting sort of extra effort plays. Sometimes it's just about tipping it back, keeping the ball alive for an extra possession. Sometimes it's about on the defense. Can you get a deflection? Can you just affect a shot? Like all those little things. But it takes extra effort, obviously, willing to be physical, like, playing through somebody. But I think it's also about your mentality. Like I always, I was obviously not very tall. I was not very fast or anything. So I was always in my mind thinking, how can I gain an advantage? So as I'm playing, I'm saying, okay, if he can expose the basketball just a second, I'm swiping at it. Or if I can play up on him to prevent him from shooting and then lay back, they really have to figure out their own strengths and weaknesses. I've always said this, Courtney, and then but the greatest athletes always figure out their strengths and their weaknesses and play to their strengths as they improve their weaknesses. But if you can't figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, you're just going to keep making mistakes, and the same mistakes probably.
Yeah, and you have to know your identity as a basketball team. That's something that I feel like they've been trying and trying and trying to figure out, and with not all the pieces in place, right? They've had injuries all season long. I mean, that has been a storyline of this team where, look, Coach Cal gets up and talks after the Michigan game and goes, "Guys, we've only scrimmaged twice." Right. And I understand where people are saying,
looks like it too.
Yeah. And it has.
Sometimes.
Well, it has. Absolutely. And so you're like, what is the identity of this team? And I felt like in that Georgia game, I go, here it is. They're turning a corner. There's that physicality that has been so lacking this season from this team. And there it is. And I kind of, again, that Oklahoma game was a winnable basketball game. I mean, it was a winnable game. They absolutely could have won
And
it.
the lead. The lead was, I think.
I mean, you even talked about it. I mean, they were up by, I believe, 6 points when they fouled them on those 3-point, when they fouled them and then they got to shoot 3 buckets. I mean, they were up. It's like you go there and you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening? And so for me, it's kind of, and I feel like Hog fans as well, it's just frustrating. I think that's the best way of putting it. It's frustrating to watch the performance against Georgia and against a team that honestly in the SEC, any team is a competition, right? You can't overlook anybody. I mean, South Carolina almost beat Florida. Vanderbilt went and beat Kentucky. I mean, you just can't overlook anybody in this league.
4 of their last 5 losses have been one possession. One possession.
Right.
3 times 3 points. The 4th was by 1 point.
They've been there.
So that's one rebound. That's one defensive rebound. That's one extra free throw. And so it's a slim margin. And to your point, I think frustration builds. The expectations were really high. Beat Kansas in the exhibition game. Beat Michigan, go to Miami, beat Miami. So now you're like, okay, you lose to Illinois, and I get another team, whatever that was.
Yeah, Baylor as well.
Baylor.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, okay, we're getting excited here, and then all of a sudden, boom, Tennessee smacks you in the mouth and exposes everything. And so now I think people are like, wait a minute, they're almost in shock mode because I think they really were those high expectations, and now they don't see it.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that, and it's crazy. Expectations, they can come back to bite you a little bit there when you have such high expectations for your team. Before we let you go, because I know you're a busy man, Pat, and I've taken way too much of your time, I do want to ask you really quickly about what's coming up. Arkansas, they don't play a midweek game this week, but they will play at Kentucky in Rupp Arena, and I know that place is gonna be wild. I'm gonna be there. I'm super excited about it because
nice.
It's
Good
a bucket.
for you.
Thank you. It's a bucket list for me, a bucket list thing for me to actually get to see a game in Rupp Arena. So I know a lot of people are like, wish you got to see a better Arkansas team.
Are you gonna be in the media area, like?
Yeah.
doing it, or you mean in a seat?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be in the media area. Honestly, I've never been to Rupp Arena, so I don't know how they set it up there. But I believe I have a media credential, and then I might be able to get down and shoot some a little bit on the court as well. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll
Well,
see if
be
I can.
careful you don't ruffle the feathers of all the people on Gucci Row and Champagne Row with their,
Oh,
eating their shrimp
oh,
cocktails down there
oh,
in
there's
Rupp
oh,
Arena.
that's right. Yes, I hope I don't ruffle any feathers when I'm there. Although some Kentucky fans, they found our Pig Trail Nation content, and so I might be public enemy number one when I get there, as long
Uh-oh.
as some other Arkansas media. But I am excited to go. But look, a lot of people are there. There is still storylines around this game, whether it's Coach Cal's first return to Rupp Arena since he left, or it's just that all those players that who are going to be returning there, Big Z and DJ Wagner and Adu
Mm.
Thero. I think there is a lot to be said about this matchup. And I know there are people that disagree. Oh, nobody cares about it anymore. Nobody cares. I really do think that Arkansas fans care, Kentucky fans care, and there's a lot of people in the SEC that care as well. Honestly, college basketball world that care too. What do you think this might be a loaded question for you, Pat, but what do you think this team needs to do to go and be competitive there, and try and just at least look good? I know they may not come away with a win. I don't think anybody's expecting that. It'd be great if they did, but how did they just go and make it a ball game and make it competitive?
Well, first, one of the other things too is we get three guys. The Hogs have three guys that are going to go back to Rupp, and Wagner, Thero, and Ivisic, right? So they probably are as motivated, um, just as motivated or more than anybody on those two teams. I can't imagine, because Kentucky brought in a whole new slate of people. A whole, there's no what's up with Cal. It's not like Cal turned their back on anybody that's still on their roster.
Mm.
There's no, none of that going on.
Yeah.
Um, but for the Hogs, I mean, Kentucky is about as good of an offense as you're going to see. Uh, Not many people have been able to run them off the 3-point line and disrupt their 3-point shot. I think that's going to be really key, to be able to do that and make them beat you really at the rim. You look at how they shoot the three, they get out in transition. That's the other thing. You can't turn the ball over, because if you start turning the ball over on the road, they get out in transition. They got guys who can finish at the rim. They got a real athletic kid, and Ote Owega.
Yeah. Yes. Nice.
Away. So so you can't do that. You've got to compete on the glass, which it seems like they've been starting to do that. You limit them as much as you can to one shot, and you just hope that you get good games. You get a good shooting game from Otega Owe. I always switch the vowels in the
Yeah.
consonants.
Yes.
Otega Owe.
Yes. You got
But
it.
you hope you get a good game from a shooting game from John L. Davis, from Ivisic. If you can get those two guys making some shots, Carter Knox, Thero attacking the basket, and then you feel like you get a chance. I mean, Kentucky is beatable. I mean, they're not undefeated. I mean, they're, like I said, they're as good as they're as good of an offense as you're going to find, and they've got three really good defense. I mean, they're a good team. There's a reason why that they their record shows what they are, but they can be beat. They depend heavily on that 3-point shot.
Everybody in the SEC can be beat. I mean, that's how it goes, right? On any given night, anybody
Yeah.
in this league can be beat, and anybody in this league can step up. It's just crazy to watch the SEC, because you just really don't know what to expect, quite honestly, with this season. I mean, I'm not surprised by anything anymore, right? I'm like, okay,
Right.
well, somebody's gonna, South Carolina's gonna get a win. I absolutely have to believe that at some point they are gonna figure it out and push through and get a win, and you're just gonna see just crazy things happen. So I'm not saying they can't go to Rupp and beat Kentucky. I just know it's going to be very difficult, because Kentucky is playing really well.
Yeah, and the challenge is Kentucky. Like, can you hold Kentucky in the 60s like Georgia did? But that was on the road.
Mhm.
I mean, Alabama goes to Kentucky and scores 100 points. So it's like, can you score enough to stay with them or slow them down just enough? because you're not going to
Exactly.
win a game 100-97 like Alabama did.
Mm-mm.
It's just I don't see the Hogs being able to score 100 points.
Yeah, but even Florida went when they went to Rupp at the beginning of the season. I mean, that was
They put up 100.
incredibly. They put up 102 and still lost that game. I mean, you're right. You have to keep at that pace. But at what point does it even? It's even like okay, because even the Florida players after that game, I was watching those post game press conferences. I mean, it is a crazy atmosphere in Rupp Arena. I mean, they were talking about okay. Was a little bit of that, did that come into play there with their loss
Yeah.
as well? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, regardless of how you feel about this matchup. I know I'm excited to at least be there, be in the atmosphere, and see what happens. I mean, there is a big storyline around it. Coach Cal
Oh, yeah.
returns to Rupp. I mean, come on. That is must-see TV, no matter how Arkansas is doing. It just is. It's just must-see TV. So, Pat, I'm so excited you were able to join the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat about the Hogs with us. And good luck for the rest of the season. I know you have a crazy, crazy schedule like we talked about before. So good luck with
Yeah,
you on
it's fun.
SEC Network for the rest of the season.
Thank you, Courtney. Hopefully, I'll be up in Fayetteville doing a game. I don't know, maybe soon. We'll see.
They need to bring you up here. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I'm like, come on. We need Pat Bradley more, okay? That's what we need. I know everybody will agree with me on that statement. So hopefully we
Well,
can
thank
see.
you.
Yeah, thank you again, and hopefully we can see you up in Fayetteville soon. But that's going to do it for this week's Full Court Press. Thank you so much for watching.